Hey, what year does somebody have to be born to be considered old?
2000. I just turned 21, bro, and I was born in '04. So if you was born in 2000, you old as a, I swear.
Hey, what year does somebody have to be born to be considered old?
2002.
Why say that?
They're pushing 30 now at this point.
Hey, what year does somebody have to be born to be considered old?
1999. Like at that point, you really born in like the 1900s. Like that's oldest.
Hey, what year does somebody have to be born to be considered old?
Anything that starts with a 19, look, if you just say that, I'm like, Monk, you talking to me, you like 1999, I'm hearing 1932. You could be talking about pre 9/11, I'm gonna be like, how was the Great Depression? Like, that don't make no sense. You said 19, my dad was born in 1972. Y'all the same age.
Hey, what year does somebody have to be born to be considered old?
Anything before 2000. Because at this point, you probably turn at 25. Like, anything over 25 is old.
2002. You know, that's like super senior age.
No, literally.
That's like class of 2021. Yeah, that's like super senior
I
age.
don't know. Anything before 2000 is old.
Hey, what year does somebody have to be born to be considered old?
Whatever year Donald Trump was born. Because he's like crumbling in the dust.
That's his expiration date.
Wait, hey, what year does somebody have to be born to be considered old?
1980. No offense. I don't know, because like by now you're like, damn. Like 40?
When I was a child, people talked about 30 as if it was like the age of doom. Now that I'm approaching that age, the goalpost has been moved, and now old describes people in their mid to late 20s. I think I have a feeling what was going through the mind of 30-year-olds back then. Just in case we forgot, old means having lived for a long time or belonging in the past. The average life expectancy for human beings is between 70 and 73 years. At 23, you are not even at a third of the experience yet. One thing I will say to like people whose ages are mentioned here, don't be offended, please. Most of the people saying this are babies, they're children, and so some of you watching this, I might be a baby, I'm 28 years old. They don't really understand what life really is about yet. Lived experiences change us and give us well-needed wisdom. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the people who have this mindset or think this way are not smart. I just believe that they still have a lot to learn. Let's remember that at 25, your frontal lobe just finished developing. At 25. And the frontal lobe is what impacts your reasoning ability, decision making, and emotional regulation. So in my opinion, anything that we do before 25 is really just the trial run. Even me at 28, I still believe that I have so much to experience and learn and discover. And I truly feel like my life just began. It might feel like 25 or even 30 is a lot of years. And I think it's because we have taken on this culture of like rushing through life. You must have a degree by this age. You have to be married by this age, family by this age. So everyone acts as if they're running against some kind of invisible clock. So many things impact our way of thinking. And one of the things that I can really link it to, especially most recently, is this 30 being old thing. I don't know if we realize just how much that was so heavily indoctrinated into us when we were younger, especially for women. Most of the things that we're consuming, the messaging in it is that 30 is old, 30 is old, 30 is old. When you're at 30, like, you better have everything done already, put together. You should be close to retirement. You need to have everything done, everything in place. If at 30 we're told that we're almost closing in at the end of our life, we might feel like we don't have a lot of time to do things. Another thing I want to point out is the erasure of children and teen spaces. I think there is not a lot of emphasis being placed on creating spaces for kids to be kids. And not only that, I think a lot of parents are wary of just allowing their child to just go places, especially with the way that the world is going now. It's most of the time you would prefer for your child to be just under your wing so they don't get to go out and experience things and communicate with each other. It's almost like as soon as you leave the womb, you're grown. Sometimes it feels like children aren't really interested in childhood things. Like, you know, like back then you would see a lot of children's toys being advertised and you'd always want those toys. They are things specifically geared towards children. I think no children are mostly consuming what is meant for adults. And I'm not saying that we didn't do that too, because the things I used to listen to as a child when my mother couldn't hear, like, they weren't for kids. But at least that's me going out of my way to consume things that weren't for children, but there were children things that existed. I don't know if I'm getting my point across, but it feels like the marketing, there's not a lot of things being marketed for kids, and the kids are consuming what is meant for adults. The adolescent teen phase, preteen phase, it's almost like it's, I don't know how to explain it, but there is not a lot of places for them to go. I was watching a video from another creator where they were showing a birthday party or some kind of club scene for kids. And people were saying that it's okay, like trying to normalize that. It's not. Let's not do that. The childhood experience is something that you need to treasure because it only lasts for 18 years of your life. So with all that being said, you're rushing through childhood, doing the things that you are consuming or taking part in as a child are really things that are meant for adults. So at 25, you might have experienced so much more than you should without the mental bandwidth to handle these things. One of the best things that you can do for yourself and your life is to slow down and take things at your own pace. Every day is a blessing. So I would encourage you not to just try to rush through everything. There is no clock, there is no timeline on your life, and anything can happen for you at any time. And I understand that anything can also happen to you at any time, but I still don't think that's a reason to just rush through life. When you get to the age that you thought was old, you'll realize that not much time has passed at all. A lot of my peers still, and I don't think it's a healthy way for us to think, and I realize that a lot of us think this way, but it's like the time just rushed by. I think it also has a lot to do with the panorama and how that kind of froze our life for a while. But we just still think of ourselves as teenagers. We just still think of ourselves as early 20s girlies just trying to avoid teenage pregnancy, you know? For those of us who are the age that is considered old right now, like I said in the beginning, don't take offense to that. Think about how your mind operated when you were their age, like in your late teens, going into your early 20s. What were you thinking about? What was your mindset at that time? Okay. Aging is a blessing that unfortunately a lot of people don't get to experience. So embrace it and don't let it limit you. I would also like to know, what are your thoughts? How old does somebody really have to be considered old?